Hi everyone, it's Zoe here again from Living with a Sleeve. I'm back in my clinic today and a few things that have come up. I mentioned I would talk about them last week as well. I thought it would be a good idea just to go over some eating habits that you need really to focus on after you've had a sleeve gastrectomy. These are the things that I find people commonly sort of find hard to adjust to, and it really does make it less comfortable for them, or it can kind of inhibit your results in the long term if you're not getting these things right. So I just thought I'd go through a few of them. First of all, if you're there, if you're logging on, I'd love to hear where you are first of all, and how you found me. Anything that you would really like to know would be fabulous. So I'll keep an eye on it and go through and just answer any questions as they pop up if there are any. Otherwise, let's get going. I guess the hardest thing to adjust to with a sleeve is not necessarily what to eat, because after a sleeve, compared to something like a band, after a sleeve you can eat any texture of food. So if you already eat fairly good quality food most of the time, like lots of people don't actually need to change the types of food that they eat. It's more changing how they eat. So one of the really important things is to focus not only on what you're eating, but on how you're eating. So you really need to slow right down. You need to take tiny mouthfuls, and you need to really focus on putting your cutlery down in between each mouthful. Once you're past sort of the healing phases of the sleeve, kind of imagine that you used to have a sack for a stomach and now you kind of have a little pipe. If you put huge big mouthfuls of food in, it's going to hit this point and sort of sit there while it tries to wiggle its way into the pipe. So that can be pretty uncomfortable. That will feel like you've got a big lump of food really just sitting right in the middle of your chest, and that's really what we want to try and I guess avoid. The way we do that is if you take smaller mouthfuls, you're going to plop little bits of food quite easily into that pipe. So you'll actually probably end up eating a little bit more, but you won't feel so uncomfortable, you won't fill up so quickly, and you'll be better able to tell when you've had enough. So you'll be better able to tell when you stop, when to stop eating. So it's really important that you take about 20 to 30 minutes to eat your meal, remembering a meal is about a cup of food, or I'm going to grab my trusty plate, about a bread and butter size plate. So 20 to 30 minutes, and that might seem ridiculous, but it is really important. The other thing about that time is you want to eat really slowly, so you take 20 to 30 minutes, but you don't want to go over the 30 minutes, because if you're eating more than 30 minutes, you're probably eating more than you actually need. So a good rule of thumb is 20 to 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, close the kitchen, put your leftovers back in the fridge. You don't need to eat anymore. You can always have a snack in between if you're hungry, and it's better that you do that and stop a little earlier in your main meal and then have a snack in between, rather than sort of trying to squeeze a bit more in during your meal to sort of get you through to the next one without being hungry. The next one is actually more about snacking, really. Have a snack. Like, if you know it's going to be a couple of hours till your main meal, eat something. What I often find is that people will be like, nope, I'm okay, I'm not going to eat. And what happens is that they get too hungry, and when they get too hungry, they start eating their next meal too quickly, or they don't chew their food properly, or they take really big mouthfuls. And then they make themselves feel uncomfortable because they've eaten too fast or too much, or their mouthfuls are too big, so it just sits there, okay? So think of it on a hunger scale of 0 to 10. You want to try and stay between a 3 and a 7. So a 0 out of 10 is so hungry that you could eat your own fingers, and a 10 out of 10 is so full that you actually want to throw up. So if you can keep between a 3 and a 7, it's going to be much more comfortable for you. All right, so a 3 out of 10 is hungry but not starving, and a 7 out of 10 is satisfied but not quite full yet, and that's quite a hard sort of point to be able to get to and to manage. You will get better at it, it just takes practice, and especially for the first month or two after surgery, it might be really impossible for you to kind of work out what that 7 out of 10 feels like. The more you practice, the better you get. I think another couple of things really about eating habits is when you're eating out, always order less than you think you need. Often and I guess that goes the same thing for when you're serving your portions at home, put less on your plate than you think you need, because often it takes a long time for our eyes to adjust to what's happened to our stomach. So see time and time again, people will say to me, oh, I still put too much on my plate and I can never finish it, and if I try it makes me feel sick. So order less or serve less than you think that you actually need. If you're eating out, make sure you use the entree menu, or share a meal with a friend, or go somewhere that is something like tapas, where you can sort of pick and choose little bits and pieces. And also in that respect, in terms of your portions on your plate, you don't need to finish everything on your plate. So really get used to leaving things on your plate. It does take a while for the brain to catch up, and often, we've been told forever and ever and ever that it's really important that we eat everything because there's a starving child in Africa, so you can't waste food. But really, if you just keep eating to finish your plate, it's just going to end up making you feel uncomfortable. So really, all of these eating habits are just to make your life more comfortable, to help you sort of get along with your sleeve a bit better and make the most of it. One last tip, I think, is really to start changing your mindset. So thinking about quality and taste, because you can't go for quantity anymore. So you're going to eat small portions. You will get used to it, you will adjust. It does take a while, but really if you just focus on quality and you focus on taste, so doing things like buying something that's a bit more expensive but you really, really love, rather than the cheaper thing that you can get more of. If you can focus on quality and taste, you're going to get more out of your food, you're going to feel more satisfied, and long term you're going to be able to keep that weight off and live a more fulfilling life and get the most out of your food that you possibly can. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview. I think that's probably enough for now. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I might, over the next couple of weeks, sort of unpack each of those a little bit more. Perhaps next week we will go over what to do when you're eating out, because that can be a whole nother ball game, and just really a bit tricky sometimes. So just recapping on today, my top tips is focus on how you eat just as much as what you eat. So slow down, take smaller mouthfuls, could be like a thumbnail size, really, really small, half a teaspoon. Put your cutlery down in between each mouthful. So you're taking 20 to 30 minutes for a meal. After that, you don't need to eat anymore, so put it away, have the leftovers later. Also, the next one was have a snack. If you're hungry and you know that it's going to be a few hours still before your next meal, have a snack. It'll help you to stay within that hunger scale of 3 to 7. So remember, we don't want to get more hungry than a 3 out of 10, because then we'll eat too fast and make ourselves feel uncomfortable. But we also don't want to be more full than a 7 out of 10. So you want to stop one mouthful before you're actually full. The next one was order less than you think you need. So helping those eyes to adjust to what's happened to our stomach, and to practice also leaving things on your plate and getting used to leaving things on your plate. Look, I hope that's been helpful. The only other thing I would suggest really is if you want more tips like this, practical tips. I'll go over them again in the next sort of couple of weeks on Facebook, but if you want to have a look on our website, livingwithasleeve.com, you'll see when you first sign in, there's a sign up box at the top, and it's got the top 10 tips for living with a sleeve. Or you can email me or contact me on Facebook, and I'm happy to send you a copy. It's really useful thing just to kind of keep in your diary or on the fridge, especially in those first even 6 months after the surgery when you're still getting the hang of things. I hope that's been helpful. Please send me a message, make a comment below if there's anything that you'd like me to cover on Facebook Live, or if there's anything that you'd like me to write about on the blog, or any resources that you think might be helpful. I'd really love to hear what you need, what you would like. I'm more than happy to kind of really go with the flow and see what I do based on you guys. So nice to see you all, and I will see you again next Wednesday, and we'll talk about eating out next Wednesday. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye.